Welcome to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill Dement, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Hole in the Wall drywall repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. Hey, Bill.
James, good morning to you. Episode 57.
Can you believe it?
I'm thinking maybe we'll call it the Heinz 57.
Heinz 57?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that a breed of dog?
No. No, I think it's a steak topping.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like A1 sauce, but different. We do have our Unit 57 as our training facility, if that helps you at all. So, exciting. Well, listen, today's kind of a fun day because I've known our guests for several years now. Back when we were working in the restoration business, we actually would do some business together. And then we've been able to do some drywall work for him as well in the past for his personal stuff. And recently he joined my B&I group and we got to kind of reconnect again. And so I'm excited to have our fascinating.
I'm looking forward. I've heard you talk about him for several years now. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know him and hear his story a bit.
Yeah. So I'd like to introduce Nigel Bogaert with 5-Star Claims Adjusting. Nigel, welcome.
Thank you.
We are so glad you're here. 5-Star Claims Adjusting. Now, we talk about this off microphone a little bit, and there is almost a mysteriousness about what public adjusting is. And I'm glad that we're able to clear some of that up today. So why don't you let our audience know just kind of who you are and what you do and all the good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, this is an amazing setup you guys have here. I'm excited to be here. Yeah. So really, I'm from Florida, born and raised in St. Petersburg. So I'm 45 years old. So I've been here for a little while. And I tell you what, I never thought I would be a public adjuster.
Right.
You know, that was never something when I was a kid or even as a young adult, I thought this would be my career.
You didn't go daydreaming about how you're going to be this wonderful public adjuster?
No. When I was a kid, I thought I wanted to carry a briefcase, wear a suit, and go to work. I'm so glad I don't have to do that currently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I spent some time in the restaurant business. I spent quite a bit of time in real estate. And then back in 2005, I'd moved down to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And right at that time, October 24, 2005, there's a gigantic hurricane called Hurricane Wilma.
Yeah.
And so we were out of power. And I had a couple guys that I'd known for a long time that I'd grown up with. And within about a year, they had been working for a roofing company. And the roofing company, they were ultimately selling roofs. And quickly they said, well, wait a second, we're helping these homeowners go out and get these roofs, but what about the screen enclosures? What about the drywall and the ceilings and all the water damage? And they found this license, and it's a public insurance adjuster license. And so with that license, it allows us the opportunity to work on behalf of the property owner, almost like a private adjuster, to represent them against the insurance company. And so ultimately, we all got our licenses, and quickly, we went from 4 of us to about 100 adjusters, and we focused on Hurricane Wilma claims for about 4 years after that. And that's kind of how it all started. So originally, it was only the focus was roofs because that's all we really knew. We quickly realized there was an opportunity to help homeowners with plumbing damage, whether it be from a HVAC overflow, pipe break in the slab, mold damage, fire, vandalism, the list goes on and on. So we were able to kind of transform the business to be able to help not just people with a roof claim, to help all varieties of claims throughout the state of Florida. And that's kind of how we got there.
That's kind of cool. But just the average person, doesn't the insurance companies have adjusters on their staff? Why would we need someone on our side?
So it's funny you should ask. That's probably been the hardest thing for us, is to educate the public that we actually exist and who we are. The insurance companies obviously have huge, deep pockets, and they do a phenomenal job at marketing, like a good neighbor.
State Farm's there.
They're there.
Okay. Well, there's a few others we could probably run through, but you get the gist of it. They've done a great job, I think, at, I don't want to say brainwashing maybe everybody, that's the only option. Our license specifically was put in place by the Department of Financial Services. So the Department of Financial Services regulates everybody in the insurance industry.
And is that at the state level?
That is. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So the licenses that the adjusters have that come out to your property and actually do the inspection, the ones that sit behind a desk, and actually write the checks and review the policy. And the insurance companies in general are all ultimately regulated by the Department of Financial Services. So at some point, many, many years ago, I think it's 40, 50 plus years ago, they put this license into place to help level the playing field to protect consumers, when there's a claim. So that way that it's not the homeowner's only ability to dispute a claim is just to say, well, no, Mr. Insurance Company, you're wrong. So they can hire experts like us who have a license to ultimately negotiate the claim and inspect the property and really make sure and review the policy to see if there's an actual claim or additional funds that are owed under the claim itself.
Yeah, they do a good job because, I think they're the number 2 marketer on TV, right? So number 1's pharmaceutical companies, especially during the day. And then number 2, I think is like a good neighbor, State Farm's there. Like Nationwide is on your side. It's like, are you really? Really? And I was an uneducated homeowner, for years. And I got insurance. I'm good to go. And it wasn't until we dabbled into the restoration business that I really kind of got a glimpse of it's not as it seems. Obviously we need insurance. We need to have that ability to do it. But when I realized that statistically the insurance companies were there, obviously they want to make money. They've got to spend all this money in marketing. They got to make sure they're taking care of their lobbyists in Washington and at the state level. And it's really we think that we're safe, but you ever get in a car wreck and then, luckily you've got car insurance, but if it's too much money, they're not going to fix your car 100%. Same with your house. When we were in the restoration world, we would see people come in with, well, my insurance gave me $3,000. It's like, well, that's going to be $12,000.
Right.
Just for the drywall, not including your new floor.
Yeah, that was the standard actually.
Yeah. And it was always like this, they're fast to write the check, but they're not fast to write that supplemental check. And that's kind of when I kind of found you, because we weren't adjusters. I'm not allowed to go in and fight the insurance companies for the extra dollars.
Yeah, there's really 3 people that can actually adjust a claim in the state of Florida. 1 is the homeowner, 2 would be a public insurance adjuster, and 3 is an attorney. And so they're the only ones that are allowed to technically review the policy, negotiate on behalf of the insured. Right. In the state of Florida. But yeah, I think you're right. I think people have been brainwashed, and I go back, I'm going to come up on 17 years here in October with 5-star and as a public adjuster. And so a lot has changed dramatically so in the last 5 years and then the last 2 more so than ever. And so I think even thinking back, 17, 16 years ago, they used to stroke checks. We would go out to these losses and the adjusters who are the people that were meeting on property, who are supposed to be there to take inventory of the damages, inspect the loss, write the estimate. We could negotiate these claims on property back then. That's gone. That doesn't happen anymore. And so I think that's where, when we look at the insurance companies that have gone out of business, we've had a lot in the state of Florida, and that seems to be a huge issue for all of us as homeowners as well. I think it's a claims handling practice. I think it's how they handle the claims and what the adjusters that are supposed to be independent that are being sent out to these properties that are supposed to be, I would think, hey, if I'm an adjuster working for the insurance company, I should go investigate. I should look for the damage. I should ask lots of questions. I should hunt while I'm there. This is my opportune time. And really what it's turned into, in my opinion, is they're picture takers. They're there to gather some pictures, sketch out the property, and a lot of them now are not allowed to carry thermal cameras. They can't carry moisture meters.
What?
I'm telling you, 95 to 99% of every adjuster I've ever met is either not allowed or they don't carry it.
Wow.
Even on roofs, they're not allowed to chalk roofs now. They used to chalk roofs for wind damage, or they would do a repairability test. That is more or less made its way out as well.
Wow. Well, I know when we were in the Panhandle for Hurricane Michael, we would have adjusters come to our homeowners for losses, and they would just, all right, give me 5 minutes, and they'd take some pictures around, and they would not look at the moisture levels. I didn't really think about that. They probably don't want that kind of knowledge, do they?
No. I've got a claim right now, and the homeowner asked me, he says, well, why didn't they do what you did? I said, I don't know. They're a for-profit company. They've got a claims manager somewhere that's telling them what they can and can't do. And some of these adjusters that come out for the insurance company, the independents, they work on fee schedules. And sometimes they work on a percentage. Usually after a storm, they get paid better. And so we talk to a lot of the independent adjusters, and we know that they have been getting paid less over time. So I think there's an issue with how they're paying them and what they're telling them to do, which is ultimately affecting. Everybody's crying wolf about litigation. Mm-hmm. Well, why is there litigation? I mean, they've gotten rid of the AOBs, they've kind of gotten rid of the roofers, and I believe that there's a need for an assignment of benefits to some degree. I know that there's bad actors in every industry. But I do believe that, the claims handling practice and how they handle it is a reason for these insurance companies going out of business.
Yeah. Now, let's talk to that a little bit. There was a large shift about 5 or so years ago. When we started doing restoration work, there was an attorney in town, we know him well, this is his whole practice was, you come to us, we're going to go after the insurance companies, and you don't pay us. Because when we win, by law, the insurance company has to pay all the legal fees. And then we get involved, Hurricane Michael shows up, and then they get rid of the AOBs. They get rid of the assignment of benefits. And because I think you're right, there are a lot of bad actors that are out there. Roofing companies have a bad rap for being the ones that kind of come in and elevate claims. I saw single-handedly some restoration companies where an invoice where I would submit for $3,000 or $4,000, they would submit it for $9,000 to $12,000. So there is some sort of, we had an insurance person on here several months ago, and from their side, they were like, listen, there's just abuse, and so we have to fix the abuse. But somewhere in there is a homeowner who needs to be made whole.
Yeah.
We have to have insurance. We can't have a mortgage on a home without having, homeowners insurance. And if you have just one company telling us what we can and can't do, there's benefits written in my homeowners policy that use these companies, use this emergency restoration company, use this. Now, it's not law, but they build it into the, well, it's easier for you if you just use the people that we have hired and negotiate with.
So I guess two things. The assignment of benefits is one piece I'd like to talk about. The other one is the preferred contractors with the insurance company. Mm-hmm. I think there's a need, like I said earlier, about the assignment of benefits and the need for that, because what is an assignment of benefits? And in my opinion, an assignment of benefits is something where somebody's actually going to do the physical work, and then you're assigning the benefits for that work. The problem with the assignment of benefits that was in place, especially on the roofing component side, and again, my opinion, is that we've got a lot of roofing companies who are licensed roofers, but then you have sales guys who are out knocking doors. Well, they don't have a license. For me, if I go out and sign a claim and I go out and I sign somebody up and I throw it up against the wall and see if it sticks, there's no benefit for me to do that. A lot of times on the roofing component, when there's these sales guys out just knocking doors, if they're not trained the proper way and they've got no license, then they have the ability just to kind of throw it up against the wall and see if it sticks. And that caused a lot of issues as far as the assignment of benefits and litigation fees. As far as the preferred contractor piece, I refer out my own. And the reason I do, and I think if anybody's listening, you have a water damage claim and they send out their preferred contractor, that preferred contractor, all of their documentation, all their photos, the thermal camera, their moisture meters, guess whose info that is? Mm-hmm. It's the insurance companies. That's their work product. That's not yours. So if I come back in later down the road because you have a dispute and I request that info, they don't have to give it to me because that's the insurance company's preferred contractor. That's a huge issue. The other piece is that a lot of the preferred contractors get their work directly from the insurance company, and they probably do sometimes because their bills tend to be lower.
Yeah.
The big thing is that the way the restoration companies, they have to get approval for the work that they do. So if your house floods, James, and you were gone for 7 days, and they send their preferred contractor out, and the right scope of work for them to do is to pull baseboards, but all they do is set up equipment just to stabilize the areas, I mean, really, the right work is to cut all that stuff out because
Yeah.
it's 6-7 days in and the potential of growth is already there. They also don't do testing a lot of times. They won't do protocols from third-party people like an industrial hygienist. I mean, that doesn't usually happen. They just go in and they start doing the work. So I feel like something needs to happen there as well. And if an average homeowner is trusting, that the restoration company from the insurance company is doing the right thing, I think it's important to have somebody put a second set of eyes on that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And I've seen multiple times where there's a 3-day dry policy in place. It's like we put the dehumidifiers in there, we've got the blowers in there, and we're talking technical. Sorry,
That's all right.
But and then after 3 days, it's dry. It's like, but we know it's not only 3 days. There's not a 3-day limit in the IICRC guidelines. It doesn't say there's 3 days. It could be 48 hours. It could be 5 days, 7 days, depending on the type of loss that you have. But then the insurance company battles you on it. I mean, and I saw it firsthand. Well, we don't pay supervisor hours. We only pay up to 3 days. Well, we only charge you X number of dollars for this. I know that unit costs $4,000 to buy, but we're only going to pay you $25 a day for that unit. We had a claim, one of our largest claims we ever did. It was a $65,000 claim. It took us 9 months to get paid. And we had to negotiate down to like $40,000 on it just to finally get paid for it. And litigation attorneys, all those fees that are in there, we carried that cost for 9 months.
Yeah, for months. Yep.
We made that homeowner whole, and it was on our dime before we even got paid.
And that's back when you had an assignment of benefits.
Yeah.
Now it's a direction to pay. So from a restoration standpoint, I've got to imagine, and we've seen a decrease in the number of claims. There's no doubt. These restoration companies with a direction to pay, I mean, they have to be very careful. It's almost like they really can't do the work until they get authority from the insurance company. And I've got a claim right now in Lake Mary. It's the same thing. ServPro came out. They set up equipment. But because the insurance company didn't give them the authority to do the work, which is cutting drywall, it's a Category 3 loss from a toilet. But because they didn't give them the authority, what were they to do? Just leave equipment in there and continue drying for a couple more weeks, or pull everything and go cut it? And then now the insurance company, or excuse me, the homeowner who has no clue is like, well, what am I going to owe you? You know, I don't even know if the coverage has been open, but you're going to send me a $10,000 bill to cut all this drywall and these baseboards out that are damaged. And the cabinets, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. And this is indicative of how the insurance industry has worked for a long time. Have you seen a progression of this since you've been in the industry? And I think you said 2005. How have you seen that change? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse?
It's not getting better. I can tell you from the AOB piece being affected, the policies themselves. So many people don't know because the problem is we all reach out to our agent, and our agent can write the policy, but an agent can't interpret the policy. The insurance company has to interpret the policy, or I can interpret a policy. So a homeowner goes out and they buy, right? They buy based on what? Dollars.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, how much is this going to cost me?
Yes.
And obviously the insurance has gone up considerably in these last few years. The problem is if people are buying based on cost right now, they have to really take a deeper dive into the policy that they're purchasing. Does it have mold coverage? Is it $10,000 or $25,000? Does it have appraisal, which is dispute resolution opportunity? Does it have a matching endorsement, which caps how much you can get paid for the undamaged portion? So if you have kitchen cabinets that are 10 years old or 15 years old, and you damage 4 of them, but the other 10 of them aren't going to match and there's no way to match, you're technically got a cap on what they'll pay for on those other undamaged units, which is not the way it's worked here in Florida for a long time.
Right. So the insurance companies have changed the actual policy, right? So it used to be an unlimited for water claims, and then there was a $3,000 cap for the emergency use. It used to be mold was, if you're not in the house for a week, and then we know that microbial growth can grow after 48 hours. I mean, we know it starts right away. And if you're on vacation, you're on a cruise, and you come back home and you've had a flood that's been there for 5 or 6 days, there's a good chance you already have growth in the walls. But that mold claim is only capped at $10,000. That's the big multi-$1,000 job we were doing. It was a mold claim where the homeowner was a vacation home, and it sat there for a week with a drip, drip, drip in the third story, and it collapsed all 3 stories.
It's true.
And the amount of Stachybotrys mold that was inside that house was off the charts. And they were only going to give them $10,000 to fight that claim.
So, yes. So the increase in the amount of premiums we pay have gone up considerably, but I believe the policies are taking a hit as well.
Yeah, the
so
coverage has come down.
Yeah, so we're paying more for a policy that has less in it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it's boiled down to. And now the fact that they've taken away the AOB and they've taken away the statutory fees for attorneys. You know, the statutory fees for attorneys on the restoration and the roofing side of things, I understand, you know, we needed some sort of fix, but to take it away for a homeowner, to me, I think is ludicrous, because that just means that if I'm an insurance company and I want to underpay your claim, I can underpay your claim. I then can hire an engineer because I have the money and spend $3 or $4 grand on an engineer that primarily works for the insurance company. And then right after that, if you don't agree with me and I've got no appraisal, no dispute resolution opportunity, your only shot is to go to suit. So now a homeowner has to rethink even going to suit, and then an attorney who no longer gets statutory fees has to come out of pocket $3 to $5 grand for engineers to dispute theirs, get their own contractor on top of our estimate, and file what's called a notice of intent. So they have to now tell the insurance company, hey, we're going to sue you in 10 days. They can't just sue them anymore, which again is okay, but the statutory fees going away really puts a homeowner in a bad spot at the end of the day. I mean, delay, deny, defend. I mean,
that's their policy. Delay, deny, defend. So we talked a little bit about some of the changes in the policies. I believe that there used to be that if you had a roof that was irreparable, you couldn't match it, they would just replace the whole roof minus your deductible, right? Has that shifted? I think I heard that it's now a prorated amount.
So there's different policies. And again, this is why I tell people before you file a claim, give us a call. Let us look at the policy to see if it even makes sense, because you've got a deductible, you've got a policy that's 50 to 70 pages long. But yeah, they've put in roofing schedules based on the age of the actual roof itself. So it'll scale down year 1, year 2, all the way down. And then again, if you've got a 15-year-old roof, they're probably depreciating the roof by half. And it's really non-recoverable because of this depreciation schedule. But then on the other side of things, if your roof is 15 years old, you can't get a policy, or you have to get a wind mitigation and a 4-point to try to get a policy in the state of Florida. And it's becoming tougher and tougher for everybody out there. So premiums up, policies, what they cover has gone down. There's got to be a pendulum swing somewhere. But I think until consumers, actual property owners like you and I speak up, it's going to take a while.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think it's important that we have this show today, because we have to educate everybody. I didn't know what I know. I mean, I'm a smart guy. I got some things going in my benefit, but I didn't realize that even the deductible for my homeowner's insurance changes based on how the loss happened. I had a hurricane. Okay, hurricane comes, blows my roof off. Well, I got a $2,500 deductible on my policy, right? No, what is it now? 2%?
Yeah, 5%
Yeah.
are more common, and a lot of people are taking the 5% option now because the policies are obviously a little bit more expensive. So
And that's 5% on the value of the home?
yeah, actually, it's of coverage A.
Okay.
So whatever your coverage A dwelling amount is, say it's 300,000. 2%, you'd have 6,000. 5%. Ooh,
Yeah.
it's going to be a little bit.
Yeah.
That could be a whole roof. That could be the cost of a whole roof on a dwelling like that.
Yeah, so then you file a claim, pay this huge deductible, and then you still have a ding on your record that hurts you from getting insurance in the future.
Correct, because that's definitely one of the questions there. I'm not an agent, but that's one of the questions they do ask. It's, have you filed a claim? Is your claim open? Because if you got an open claim, it's going to be very tough to even get a new policy.
Okay, so we have a claim. We decide that, you know what, we need to have someone on our side. We don't want to hire an attorney just yet, but we need to have someone that can help us negotiate this. We find 5-star claims adjusting. I've heard some of your success stories. I'm curious if you could just share some of the successes that you've seen over the years where a homeowner was made whole again just because they got someone else in their corner.
Yeah, there's so many that are out there. But how about, I've got one in Lake Nona that the insurance it was a water loss. So from a supply line inside of a bathroom, literally pushed the grout out from underneath the tile out the side of the house. So we got water in 3/4 of the house. And so I came out after the insurance company had been there. They paid about $7,200 after the deductible. And I came out, I moisture mapped, I thermal cambered. We still had water trapped in all these marble floors, behind their custom closets, still in the bathroom. They never sent a mitigation company out. And most homeowners don't know, I got to call a mitigation company. They push the water out.
Right.
So they then offered me $32,000, and then we took it to appraisal, and I think we settled around 87 or 88 grand. So, obviously we receive a percentage of whatever we recover, but even after that, they were well off, than where they were. But they're also getting the peace of mind to know that now what they've gotten is actually fair, and we've done the work with the insurance company. But in addition to that recovery of the 82, there was also testing, mitigation companies, mold remediation. So there's these other invoices and work that needs to get done on the house to make these people whole again and put them back to pre-loss condition. So that's just one that stands out to me that was fairly dramatic.
Yeah. So, and that's the goal is it's not that people are trying to just take one over on the insurance company. It's pre-loss condition. I bought a house. The house cost $300,000, and you had because water claims are huge. I mean, most homes will have a water loss of some kind in the course of their life, a pipe burst, a roof leak, something. And you pay thousands of dollars a year for insurance to help cover you on these things, and you want it to be fixed the way it was before.
Yeah, you should be made whole.
Be made whole. That's why you have insurance.
I think so many people, I don't know if they just don't want to deal with it. But they're also not. They're not engineers. They're not plumbers. They're not. They're not experts at the policy. And so you've got handy individuals. I'm not one of them, but you've got handy guys that go, "No, we can just put some tape on this, mud it up, fix it, and we're good to go." But it's until you actually hunt for the damage, especially on a water loss claim or even a roof claim that has water intrusion that came in the ceiling, down the wall, to the floor. I mean, you have to look for that stuff. You have to think like water. And so most people don't think like that. They also aren't familiar with, like you said, the IICRC and those guidelines and what the policy owes for. And so really when you're filing a claim, the purpose is, I don't want to say to get everything out of it that you can, but it's to make sure that we don't leave anything that is damaged or a potential issue that could pop up later. I mean, now's the time.
Yeah.
Well, fix the moisture issue while it's the issue as opposed to letting it grow to a mold issue down the road. Because Florida is very humid, so there's lots of, mold. Mold is a big deal down here. It's not as scary as people think it is sometimes. It's black mold. Obviously we know there's no such thing as black mold. I've seen green and purple and yellow and white mold as well. And they're all different. This is why you have to have a smart person like you come out, and one of your team can say, well, let's get this tested by somebody to make sure that you're not in danger. Because you can't see mold. You can see if it grows in the wall or something, but it could be aerosolized in the air, and you won't even know about it. So you've got to do air quality samples, and you could have something that's trapped that's releasing mold into the air. Oh, I've got a cold. I've got well, maybe it's more than that. Let's get it tested. As an average homeowner, we don't know those things.
No, and I think that's where we come into play. I think our job is to quarterback the claims process, right? It's to determine what the policy says, what it owes for, document the damages, and then make sure we can set good expectations with the homeowner as to what the steps are that we have in front of us and what the policy owes for. And if I'm not a mold expert, so I bring in third-party companies not only to help me, but to also help the homeowner. So at the end of the day, when the claim's over, they're getting a certificate that says the mold is gone. And if you ever sell a property, as you know, there's a seller's disclosure statement, and it says, have you had water damage?
Yep.
Have you had mold? Those things are going to pop up when you sell your property.
Yeah.
So it's important to it's like baking a cake. I mean, if you don't, you come out with something out of the oven that doesn't look good at the end of the day, but when the same thing goes for a claim. When you call in your claim, that call is recorded. So whatever you say on that claim, that's on the first notice of loss, which stays on the claim throughout the entire process. Homeowners call and they're really not experts. Oh, I think maybe this was going on for, they have no clue.
Yeah.
I would just advise people, I've got water damage. This is when I noticed it. Call us. Let us look at it. Let us bring out the plumber. Let us bring out the experts. Let's build a good claim package. And then let's present it to the insurance company the best way we can with all the photos and documentation. And then we write the estimates and negotiate the claim.
I'm in. That's how, if I have a claim, that's how I'm going to proceed.
Ready to start your own business? How would you like a jumpstart? Hole-in-the-Wall Drywall Repair is now offering franchise opportunities for strong entrepreneurs. When you franchise with Hole-in-the-Wall, we help you get up, running, and ready to start generating revenue fast. You get access to our comprehensive training program, continued support, and our proven business model that has allowed us to experience explosive growth. Achieve financial success while providing a valuable service to your community. Take the first steps towards achieving your entrepreneurial dreams. Go to holeinthe-wallfranchising.com.
You know, you guys talk a lot about water and mold, but and that's obviously a huge problem here in the southeastern United States. But I'm curious if you guys also deal with fire loss and smoke, maybe smoke damage to a property. Do you have a lot of that?
We do. There's a lot of fire chasers here, well, probably anywhere. Mostly restoration companies that go out and they literally listen to the police scanner and they go out immediately, and some of them have a different pitch. Some of them do reconstruction, some of them don't, and they go out to the property right when the fire is taking place and say, hey, we can handle the board up, we can handle the remediation, and we can do the reconstruction. All you do is pay your deductible. Mm-hmm. You know, be mindful. You're in somebody who has a fire, you're in a very vulnerable place at that moment, and something's happened that's not a fun or good environment. So I would pause if you could. You know, yes, you need to get board up done. Yes, things need to happen. A public adjuster, you want to make sure you find a reputable public adjuster to review the policy and help quarterback. Is this a good restoration company? What is the policy owe for? Where am I going to go stay while we have the fire? You know, Red Cross will throw you almost $1,000 right on the spot when you have something, just to kind of help out. So yeah, we work fires, and again, we bring in third-party companies. So I think that's the key, right? Mm-hmm. It's a team.
Yes.
Whose team you want to be on?
Yeah. And who do you want quarterback in your team?
Yeah. So fires are complicated because there's smoke, soot, you know, the actual fire, the heat. You know, we've got one right now that's over in East Orlando, and the insurance company never went out.
Oh, my.
They just paid an invoice based off of a restoration company. And the restoration company and the homeowner, I guess there was no work that got done for 6 months. And now we're involved, and the estimate is almost double what it was. The property, they never turned the electric back on, so the AC never came back on. So, so you're just sitting there, and then there's nail pops upstairs. So now the drywall ultimately has to get replaced upstairs as well. So it just expanded the scope. Nobody talked about the windows that were damaged from the heat, and so that's why you really have to dig into these claims. When we do our inspection, you have to really walk through these things. And even when we do our first one, we go back and we meet the adjuster and we do another inspection. So I'll catch stuff on the second inspection. There's no doubt. Yeah. But that's what it's all about, to build a good claim package and argue it with the insurance company.
Wow. What would you recommend as a homeowner do prior to any loss? I mean, I know where my policy is because I was in the industry for a minute, but the average homeowner gets a policy, they throw it in a drawer someplace, and then they have a loss, and now they're scrambling. What are some things that we could do as homeowners prior to an event? We're in hurricane season now. We got a couple, storms brewing in the tropics, and if something happens, what can we do to prepare ourselves ahead of time?
I would scan a copy of your original policy. Each year you're going to get a renewal. Every time you get a renewal, I would scan that as well, because in that renewal, there's normally going to be some form of change in the policy. It'll be an endorsement change that they've added in that most of us don't even look at. We got our renewal, but in there it's like, by the way, we just capped your water coverage at, $10,000.
Right.
So you want to make sure you really review the policy, I think, with somebody, whether that be us, a public adjuster. You can, call your agent and see if they're willing to somehow interpret or at least ask, what are my coverages? What's my deductible again? What do I have mold coverage? Is there appraisal? Do they have right to repair language in the policy? I think those are some of the big ones to ask. And then also, which most of us, we tell people to do it, but I'm going to be honest, I haven't even done it in my own house. Take a video. Take a video of the house and what it looks like today before any loss occurs, whether it's a fire or water claim. Because one of the things the insurance company does is they try to go backwards. They'll hire engineers and say, well, this looks like it was 3 months old, 2 months old. But if you got a video that shows that wasn't there, then we've got a leg to stand on to argue that. But if there's a big loss like a fire or hurricane that's causes devastation, you certainly want to have a video of everything you got in there.
And even photos of your items, right? Because you can say that I've got a $10,000 toy train collection, but without proof that you have that collection, you're not going to get that money on your claim. And frankly, if we buy an insurance policy based on price, we may not have enough money for the contents of our home to cover the items that we actually have in the home.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that we review that. I know that before the Hurricane Irma, I just went around, I took about 100 pictures, everything I had, from safes to documents to whatever, put it on a thumb drive, threw all that stuff on Dropbox. So if in the event of a catastrophic event, I would have access to that. And I could find it and then send it to somebody that could review it. Well, Nigel, that's some great advice, and I can't wait to kind of dig into my own policy now. You kind of give me
makes you want to go look, doesn't
a
it?
little checkup from the neck up, as I like to call it, or just kind of, maybe we should get our heads back in those things just to think about it, especially now that it is hurricane season, especially now that it's time, because for most people, your home is your largest investment. It's going to be something that you live in, and maybe it's you're I don't want to say house poor, but there's a lot going on financially, and to have another expense of, I have to be displaced from my home for X number of days while this loss is resolved, that costs money.
That's a great point. You made me think of something. Mm-hmm. So it's our number one asset for most people. And with that being said, I know everybody is up in arms about the cost of the policies increasing, doubling, if you will. But I think we have to be mindful of a few things. Inflation.
Yep.
The cost to build, the fact that we've all had appreciation like crazy. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to help the insurance companies here and agree with them and say, it's okay that they charge what they charge. But I think we have to be mindful of those things that did go up. And if you look at other places in the country and what some other places pay, like California, for instance, right. Holy cow. Our price for homes here is going up. So I think naturally insurance is going up. I just think we played catch up. But I think to be very mindful and making sure you're protecting that asset is really digging in the policy, like you said, and kind of just, I think the big ones, and I'll repeat them again, is what's my mold coverage? Do I have appraisal? Is it right to repair? What does that mean? That means the insurance company can send their own contractor, and they're going to do all the work in my house, and you don't get the right to pick your own. Mm-hmm. And I think, is there any limitations on water damage coverage? The average dry out invoice is, and you would know this, is probably somewhere between $3,000 and $6,000.
Yep.
If you have,
that's right on.
Yeah, and if you have $10,000 worth of water damage coverage, and you have a slab leak while you're gone for the weekend, you're probably talking about a $40,000, $50,000 claim. You're out of pocket.
Yeah.
So dig into the policy, ask the right questions to the agent or to us or to anybody that has knowledge of policies.
Well, we just went through this for the last hurricane season, but flood zones are a real thing. And if you're in a certain area, you have to have flood insurance. But if you're not in certain areas, you're not required to. I will tell you that we did a loss, and I realized that, wait a second, this homeowner's policy doesn't cover for groundwater.
Yeah, and most policies don't cover rising water events.
And so I live near a lake. Now, I'm not in a flood zone. Okay, I'm high enough away from Lake Tahoe that I'm not in a flood zone. But the first thing I did is went out and bought a $400 a year flood policy just to make sure I was covered in case of rising water from a lake. And the next year, we had a huge issue. Now, my neighbors about a block away from me had water in their home from rising water from the lake, that because the levees had shifted. It was a week after the hurricane, and Orange County changed the Osceola County water levees, and the lake just kind of slowly rose up. Mm-hmm. And I felt secure that I actually had that flood policy just out of forethought. It was worth the extra $400 a year to make sure I was covered in that. And now a lot of policies, I know Citizens is actually making people have flood coverage.
They do, yeah. And after Ian, Central Florida, we took, 28 inches of rain? Mm-hmm. And with the levees and some of the stuff that they changed around, there's houses that are nowhere close to some of these areas where you would have ever think that there was going to be a flood that had water 8 feet, 10 feet in their houses. Yeah. There was so much devastation from the flood stuff here in Central Florida. It's crazy. So I think when you're in question and not sure, and you're close to a water pond,
Yeah.
lake, whatever it is, it might be worth the $300 or $400, And those policies now too, even for properties that are on the water, coastal, they're starting to sell additional policies on top of the FEMA policy, which has a little bit more coverage too, because a lot of the actual FEMA policies that are out there, they don't pay for matching. They're not, they don't pay for same stuff that we would see in a normal homeowner's policy. So I think a lot of people are like, oh, I've got, my kitchen cabinets don't match, but they don't pay for matching. It's only for the direct physical loss to that thing, and that's what those policies pay for.
Sure. I'll pay for your doors only, not the
we've heard of that.
Yeah, not the kick plate.
Yeah.
All right, we have talked a lot about homeowner stuff and policy stuff. I'm curious a little bit. Let's dig in just a little bit about the business. Now, you said you started, you and some buddies in 2005. I know now you're a co-owner in 5 Star Adjusting. How did you go about scaling your business? Was there any? I mean, you went from a couple 3 guys to 100 plus adjusters around the state. That's some incredible growth, and obviously the need is there. And I mean, what made you do that? I mean, what made you even think about getting that big?
So there was, excuse me, there was a need, and we saw the need, and two of the other guys, they had started the company, and I was an adjuster. I was just a public adjuster, and so I went out and I saw my own claims, and there was just a plethora of claims out there from that hurricane, and we had a statute of limitations that was going to expire, and so naturally it was just people that we were talking to, friends. I mean, we've never gone out and recruited. We've never put an ad in the paper looking for public adjusters. So 90% of the people that work for our company today and back then are from somebody we know. I mean, my dad was a public adjuster for a while. So I had family members who became public adjusters, and it was they saw the industry, they saw the need for a public adjuster, and that people needed help. And so our whole motto has always been, if we can help the people, the money will follow. So if we do a good job at training the public adjusters to be good adjusters.
Yeah, it's a great philosophy, actually.
Then at the end of the day, I work on referrals. That's what I want. And so the main focus is if we take care of the client, we'll get referrals, the money will follow.
Yeah.
And so it just went so fast. I mean, it went from 4 of us trying to figure out, the scripts and how to set the expectations for clients all the way, to the estimates and then growing it into a company. It just started with 1 office in Fort Lauderdale, and we got up to about 6 offices. So I went from just being a public adjuster to training individuals to managing managers and offices and traveling. And then once the hurricane was gone and our statute of limitations was gone, we lost almost 60% of our adjusters. So to be in business and to grow something and then to have to scale back, there was a lot of lessons I think learned as a business owner, but gradually we grew again. I think it was a mindset of, the roof claims. And I was like, it's not just roof claims. It's the fire, it's the water. I mean, there's a career, there's people that are going to need help every single day. And that's how we, ended up regrowing the company. And so I think now we've got 4 offices. 66. We're about 100, right back to about 100 adjusters and change, give or take. So, but we've got offices, but a lot of the guys will work from home, and we're constantly in our vehicles.
Sure.
I mean, I work claims, I manage, I own, I work claims myself, and we're in our cars. Like we go out and meet people, and then we're there for a while. We document it, and then we got to quarterback the testing. Then we got to quarterback the estimate. Then we got to meet the adjuster. Then we got to chase down the insurance company adjuster, and we got to hold them accountable to the timelines that they have. Yeah. So it's really a crazy thing. And then when we opened this office here in 2016 in Central Florida, 2017, Irma hit, and that kind of helped, with some growth. And then about 1.5 years ago, I said to my partner, why don't we open something on Southwest Florida? And I had met this guy who owned a landscaping company, and he was like, what do you do? And that's just how it unfolded. Now he's one of the top producers over there, and then a storm hit right in his backyard.
Yeah, boy, didn't it?
I mean, goodness gracious. It's going to take a while for that place to be rebuilt over there. So, yeah, I think from a business standpoint, it was, we just have always tried to do the right thing. We've tried to, there's so many different models in public adjusting and different companies, I think, out there. And we've really tried to teach our adjusters, it takes time, but to teach them to be an all-around, well-rounded, good adjuster. And if they don't have the answer, they can come to me. And if I don't have the answer, I guarantee you I've got somebody in the company that does, because everybody's at different, skill levels. And some guys work primarily commercial claims. Some guys work a lot of roof claims. Some work a mixture of everything. So it's tough. I mean, we handle everything from pretty much from A to Z in a claim. So if I sign you, James, I'm with you till the end.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I got you in my corner for sure.
Absolutely.
I hope I never need you. I hope I never need you, but if I do need you, I'm glad I got you there.
I appreciate it.
Man. Well, that was good.
Yeah, great. Wow. Good information.
Absolutely. Well, listen, thanks for coming in, Nigel. Listen, let's tell everybody if they want to get a hold of you or someone in your team, they want someone to review their policy, they've got an active claim going on that they think is being mishandled, how can they get a hold of you or someone in your team?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can check us out on Facebook, or you can go to www.fivestarclaimsadjusting.com. Our office number is 321-444-6981. You can ask for me, Nigel Bogaert, and I will make sure either I take care of you, get somebody that can take care of you, and get out there. And we do a free inspection. So it costs you nothing for us to come out, look at everything, give you the peace of mind, either let you know you were paid fairly, or does it make sense to file a claim? So it doesn't matter if you've been underpaid, delayed, denied. We'll get involved, take a look, see if we can help, and at least, give you some direction on what the next step would be.
Very good. Well, thank you for coming in, and we want to thank everyone for listening. It was another great show. We'd like to thank you for listening to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeinthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.